What's up, and welcome to Ryno Sports Talk's first podcast. And today we're talking about Christian McCaffrey and why he should have been the Heisman winner. So I'm just looking at stats here, and I'm going to talk first about who actually won it, and that is Derrick Henry of the Alabama Crimson Tide. And just looking at his rushing, everyone knows he broke the record for rushing yards in the SEC, and he had 1,986, as well as 23 touchdowns. And that's pretty impressive, especially he averaged almost 6 yards a carry. That is super impressive to me. But what's really intriguing here is I'm looking at the stats courtesy of sportsreference.com, and his receiving totals are pretty interesting. He only had 10 receptions all year, and they were only for 97 yards. So that's something pretty interesting. He didn't have a receiving touchdown either, so do what you will with that. He also didn't return kicks or do anything else. He basically was the running back for the Alabama Tide and did nothing else, just rushed. Now looking at Christian McCaffrey, he had 1,847 yards rushing. That's only 1,000 less than Henry, and 8 touchdowns with an average of 5.8, which is literally 0.1 less than Henry. And he did this in 319 carries, which is only 20 less than Derrick Henry. So, just talking about rushing stats, that's showing a little something that he's just as good as rusher as Derrick Henry is. His receiving stats are what really, puts it off to me that he's the better all-around player. He had 41 receptions for 540 yards and 4 touchdowns. Again, these stats courtesy of sportsreference.com, and that just shows that he's not just a running threat like Derrick Henry. He can also catch the ball. And combined, he has 12 touchdowns, 2,387 yards from scrimmage, and 360 plays just on offense. And that's pretty impressive stats right there. I mean, that's more than Derrick Henry has. Henry has a total of yards from scrimmage of 2,083. And that's just offense. Like, McCaffrey has over 300 more yards than Henry does. And if you look at kick and punt returns, which is what McCaffrey does, he didn't return as many punts. He returned 14, which is still about a punt per game, just because Stanford's defense is really good, but he also had to call a bunch of fair catches, which doesn't calculate into this. But he had 36 kick returns for over 1,000 yards, averaging 30 a return. That is really, really impressive to me. I mean, as a sophomore, he's got that kind of speed to be able to pull off 30-yard kick returns each game. And that's just amazing. He's an all-around threat. And what really sets this apart between Henry and McCaffrey is who they played against. Derrick Henry, you have the old school SEC is the best conference of all time kind of deal, when it really isn't. Be on the lookout for that post next week. That's my next week's post on rhinosportstalk.wordpress.com. Link in the description, as well as my Heisman preview that I posted last week is also in the description. But their schedule, Alabama's schedule, is not very good. They lost to Ole Miss, who lost to Memphis, and they also scheduled Wisconsin, who's an all-right team. I think they went 8-4 this year. They were middle of the pack. I think they ended up ranked at the very end of the year, but weren't very good. Weren't as good as they usually are. Middle Tennessee, Louisiana Monroe, and Charleston Southern are the other out-of-conference, and they're not good at all. I'm looking on this thing, looking at their schedule. I'm not seeing any quality wins here. Yeah, LSU was quality for a while. Then they dropped out. Florida was quality, but they also didn't have their starting quarterback. So I don't see any real quality wins. I'm going to be interested to see what Henry and Alabama do against Michigan State on the 31st. Compared to what Stanford did, or played, I should say. They played Northwestern, UCF, which isn't very good, USC twice, Oregon State, which Oregon State played them close, Arizona, UCLA with Josh Rosen, who's their starting quarterback, a really good freshman. Washington State played him close. Colorado, they're all right. Oregon, who got really good right before that game because they got Vernon Adams back, and they did manage to beat Stanford that game. And then Cal with Jared Goff, always good. Their offense always good, defense not so much. Notre Dame having a perennially good defense and an all right offense. USC, like I said, and then they play Iowa on the first, so that's gonna be the game where I'm interested to see what McCaffrey's gonna do. I really think McCaffrey should have won it just based on the stats. Like I said, he had more all-purpose yards. He broke the record for that. He had more. He was only 100 rushing yards off, and he still was 20 rushes short, which based on his average would have put him. If he would have had the same amount of touches, he would have been 10 yards more than Derrick Henry had. That's saying something, man. I mean, if he's not that good, if he's not a Heisman winner, I don't know why he's not the Heisman winner. He's really good. He's going to be good next year. He's a Heisman front runner in my ballot and a lot of other people's ballots next year. I'm excited to see what this kid can do, and just going to see what happens in the rest of the year. Be updated on my podcast, which I'm going to start doing every week. It's going to be like a top 5 thing every Sunday, hopefully. And always on my rhinosportstalk.wordpress.com, link in the description. And just stay on the lookout for new content from me. I hope to produce at least 2 pieces of content every week. And then go look at my subscribe channel's Dark Entity. It's me and a buddy of mine just producing COD videos and some other couple things. So it's going to be a fun, content-filled season, I hope. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys have any thoughts about what Christian McCaffrey did or anything I've said, leave it in the comments. And like and subscribe to stay up to date on all the new podcasts. This has been Ryno Sports Talk.